Yeah.
Can I ask you a question about something? So I was a huge fan of John Sargent as a journalist. I read all his books about when he started off. He started off in the Echo, Liverpool Echo. And he told me this one thing, and I just wondered if this resonates with you. But there was this story that he said sometimes when you go and cover something. So I don't know if did you ever go and cover incidents as like a reporter?
Yeah.
So he said, so the times when you go out, he said, so like one time he went out and there'd been an accident, right? And one person had been killed, another person had been injured by a wall collapsing in a factory, right? And that's all you know. So he said, so the anchor would go, and here's our correspondent, John Sargent, who's at a factory where about 3:00 this afternoon, a wall collapsed, killing one person and injuring another. What do you know, John? And he said he'd have 3 minutes.
Yep.
And that would be all he'd know.
Yep.
Did that happen?
Oh,
Did that
happen
to you?
Yeah. And I had blazing rows with reporters out in the field. So I used to news edit for ITV London. So we'd have reporters out in the field doing lives of exactly that type. There's been a helicopter crash, one person, suspected. And I would read the intro out to the journalist on the phone and say, okay, here's the intro, here's what we're going to, and I'd get to the end and they'd say, but that's all the facts, that's all we know. And I'd say, well, we have to say something in the intro. The worst one, the funniest one I ever heard about was, do you remember ages ago, there was a whale in the Thames? Do you remember the whale in the Thames?
Yeah. They gave it a name, didn't they?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I was in London. Yeah.
So basically, every man and his dog went down to the Thames. It was a quiet news patch and it's a nice sunny day. So one Sky reporter, I don't know the name of the reporter. I'm not holding it back. I just don't know who it was. But basically, they were on air. There was a live. They were doing a quick live hit about the whale in the Thames. But the thing that was going to come after them, the package was going to come after them, dropped for some reason. So there was just time to, and obviously Sky News is rolling news. So basically, this reporter just heard his earpiece. You've got 5 minutes, just fill. And it's like 5 minutes about a whale in the Thames. Nobody had no idea what kind of whale it was, how long it had been there. So basically it's just like, and he's just sweating through his suit as he's just desperatally trying to fill time.
Really? My God, I can imagine.
You can see reporters doing,
could they grab someone?
Only if, you've usually got a producer with you. So as a reporter on camera, you've usually got a producer. And if the producer hears you're going to fill for 5 minutes, they'll just basically find somebody who can stick into, but that relies on having somebody near you who's actually cogent and understands and has some information.
Yeah, because you could just grab, because you see them all in the background. Yeah. But I did a lot of work with Granada Reports with Rob Smith, a reporter called Rob Smith, great guy, and exactly what you say, you can tell to performance. His voice and his professionalism was just amazing, so impressive. And I went and did stuff on romance scams, and then I think there was some other type of scam. But I went backwards and forwards for a while, and then they said, "Look, this report's got really good, and they're going to push it to other news, not news desks, I suppose they call it." But it was Scottish. I forget the name of the Scottish one. I want to say Lothian, but it wasn't Lothian. But anyway, whatever, Granada, Scottish. And so they said, "Okay, so you just sit in that chair. You won't see them, but you'll hear them."
Right,
and they'll ask you some questions. It's the same questions you've been asked by the desk in Manchester. It's like, okay, fine. But what happened was my earphones, it was really faint, the voice of the Scottish desk.
Yeah.
And so I heard so I answered it, and then I heard it again, and then it just went dead.
Oh, no.
So I was just sitting there like that, and I just thought, the best thing I can do, and I'm just wondering what your thoughts are. I thought the best thing I can do is just not say anything.
Yeah.
So I just went... And then I heard the guy say in his ear, "Oh, well, it looks like the hackers have managed to get to it. But thanks anyway, Jenny." And I went, "Thank you." Just like that. But I couldn't hear him.
Yeah.
And they'd asked me, was it okay? And the trouble was the volume was great until when we were rehearsing it, but when the studio, because they were waiting to go on today at 6 o'clock or whatever. Yeah. And I was right by the weather girl. It was fabulous. And she was giggling because she said she did the right, the best thing to do is just to sit there, because if I just said or done anything. Yeah.
It's but these days of sort of Zoom interviews, as we've seen from the famous lawyer cat filter thing.
I felt so sorry for him. I felt so sorry for him, because when sometimes if you can't fix it, you can't fix it. Sometimes it's so obvious. Someone shows you where it is.
Yep.
But like I had a Zoom filter with I could do it now, but I have a Zoom filter where you can fix your eyebrows and your lipstick and everything. And my friend put a beard on herself, and I said, "What?" And she says, "I can't take it off." And she said that the Zoom filter for that defaults says once you put yourself a false beard on and everything, it automatically defaults to every future meeting.
Yep.
You have to uncheck it. So it's kind of like you have to opt out at that point. She couldn't get it off. Is there anything that you would like, or anything or anyone that you would really like to get on and interview?
God, that's a good question. That's a good
like
question.
Any topic particularly?
Any topic in particular?
See, I think they've done quite well, topics and guests. It's not like I look at it and go, "Oh, I wish, I wish there was this person in this category talking about this." Yeah. I think the elves and the overlords, that could be a poem. I might do a Christmas poem if we're all still here on the elves and the overlords at Tice. I do poems occasionally.
Huh? Okay.
You'll hear a poem of mine on the 1st of April.
Oh, good. Okay, great.
Not connected to Tice.
Fair enough.
Even whether you want to or not.
I think you're right. I think it's a really good spread of topics, and I think it's nice because it's all in the cybersecurity zone, but it's not just about the classic cybersecurity stuff, as you say. We look at recruitment and retention, we look at mental health, we look at diversity, and all these other things that are sort of might be regarded as fringe topics, but actually really important. So yes, long may it continue.
I do. I don't think that I ever go, there's a gap here and there's an obvious person that could have commented on this and that gap. I think we do really well on it. And I think, I've watched your show and I think, you do well, Geoff, And
I've watched yours.
As a Channel 4 editor of the new. Yeah, you do quite well, actually. So
thanks for that. Yeah, cheers.
I do okay some weeks. Other weeks, I've managed to insult the guest by forgetting their name.
It's excellent. I think you're more challenging of your guests than I am. I think you push people a bit harder. I think that's something I could maybe.
Well, that's a compliment come from you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just think sometimes you need to. It's not really to challenge them their opinions because I don't really get it. It's just the. I think sometimes it makes for a good interview on the top because I tend to be doing the softer skills. I hate that term, but it's just like some of the soft skills and the kind of more human side. And I think it's quite important sometimes that we don't. I'm not saying the guests have done this yet, but I'm always very cautious on any time I'm on a panel, either as a panelist or when I'm being interviewed, that we don't speak in cliches because the industry's got lots of cliches. When you talk about conferences and panels, I've seen panels where people they'll reel out things and then it won't be correct. And particularly about breaches, we're trying to be very open or we're trying to do this. And you think, no, you're not. No, you're not. But that's the right thing to say. Tell me the truth. Just give me some truth.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what and one thing our overlords and elves don't mind is a little bit of truth.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
which is quite nice.
Long may it continue. Good stuff.